I'm Bonnie Browning with the American Quilter Society, and today I'm here with Susan Stewart. Susan is the winner of our BERNINA Home Machine Workmanship Award at the AQS 2013 Quilt Week. What a beautiful quilt. And you know, she's no stranger to being here with this interview, are you?
No, this is the third time I have won one of the big prizes, but it doesn't get old, ever.
Oh yeah, still a thrill every time.
It is still a thrill, absolutely.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your quilt.
Okay.
First of all, tell us the fabric you used, because it's a little different.
Yes, I used Robert Kaufman Radiance, which is a silk cotton blend, and so it has a very shimmery surface, and I really love the way that it embroiders and quilts.
Okay, now, because it's silk, does that mean you have to pay attention to the shine and cut your fabric?
I didn't on this quilt, but I have on quilts in the past. Pay attention to the grain line of the fabric. This kind of goes in all directions, but it is a very shimmery fabric. It's a little harder to work with than plain cotton. One of the ways that I tame the fabric is to use spray starch on it before I cut, and then during the process also. The spray starch does make little water spots on it, but I'm going to be soaking my quilt later anyway to get rid of markings and water-soluble glues and stabilizers, so then the water spots all go away.
And so are you spraying on the top of the fabric or the back? On the top?
On the top, yes.
Okay. Well, that's a nice way to know how to tame that stuff,
it helps.
It can be tricky.
It can, yes. It helps a lot.
All right, now you have some beautiful tulips embroidered on here. Tell us about how you put all this color on here.
All of the color on the quilt is digitized machine embroidery. That means it runs from a computer program on your machine. And there's no applique or red fabric or anything. It's all thread that you see, the reds and yellows and oranges. They're not my designs. I don't digitize. They are from Zunt Design, which is a company in Switzerland that is available online.
Okay. All right. And now, I know that a lot of us try to make perfect circles, and you have made a lot of different circles on here. Tell us about how you did that.
Right. Well, I like the circles. I like to repeat a motif throughout the quilt. So I have the large circle under the tulips. Those are made from French cotton lace. I have a background in heirloom sewing, and so it kind of leaks through into my quilting sometimes. I have the smaller circles here. These are a decorative stitch from the machine that I digitized into, well, I did digitize that, into a circle, and that's stitched out in the hoop also. And then in the quilting, I have lots of tiny little circles, and those are just free motion. To get my big circles nice, that's not really very high tech. I use plates or lids or bowls or glasses or whatever is the right size for. I go hunting in my kitchen for circle sizes. For templates.
Yes. All right, and so now tell us a little bit about the quilting you've done in here, and I see that some of the thread is a little bit different.
Yes, the machine embroidery is done on the quilt top only, not through the batting and backing. Some people have asked about that, and that's why the batting underneath allows those tulips to kind of look puffy and three-dimensional. So the first thing I do when I quilt is use monofilament, and I stitch right in the ditch of all of my embroidery designs. That's the very first thing I do, and that kind of, makes it dimensional. Then for the rest of the quilting, my little flowers here, the quilted flowers, are stitched with a bright yellow silk thread, Superior Threads Kimono silk. It's a very fine thread. And the rest of the quilting is done with a light, 2 different shades of ivory, the background wavy quilting.
And really, that yellow thread that you've used right in here, it just adds a little bit of a shadow, doesn't it?
Just a little hint. You would not guess from the bright yellow spool that it would be so subtle on the quilt, but because it's a very fine thread, it gives just a little hint of color there.
Well, do you know, one of the questions everybody always wants to know is, how long did it take you to make this quilt?
And I know that's always a question that everyone asks, and I never time myself, so I think it took probably 3 to 4 months, but I don't know how many hours. I think probably 15 to 20,000 yards of thread, though. That's easier to keep track of.
15 to 20,000. How many spools is that? I can't even calculate.
I get big spools. Sometimes I get 5,000 yard spools or 5,000 meter spools of thread. Okay. So it's a lot.
It's still a lot of thread, isn't it?
It's a lot.
Well, is there something you'd like to tell us about this quilt that I haven't asked you?
No, I don't think so.
Well,
oh, I do know something. Yes, the backing is a red and ivory print that kind of mimics this scrolly design, and I have a background. I've made garments for a long, long time before I ever made quilts, and so when I pieced the backing pieces together, I matched the print on the seam lines.
Now that's a sign of a winner, is it not? Well, and then of course everyone wants to know, will we get to see this beautiful quilt hanging in the Quilt Museum?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. This is going to the museum on Sunday.
Yes, and you have one or two over there. Do you have one?
I have three over there.
Three over there.
Two purchase prize prior, and then one quilt that won a first place, but I donated it to the museum because it was the year of the Great Flood. And the quilt was all gray, and I had titled it "Every Cloud Has a Silver Lining," and it just seemed very appropriate.
It belonged there, didn't it?
It belonged there.
Okay, well, of course, we know that the judges chose this over all of the other quilts in the home machine category.
That's so exciting.
And it's a very beautiful quilt, and congratulations,
Thank
Susan.
you so much.